Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in my last video, I have reviewed my pre-loved purchase from Louis Vuitton, the black epi leather version of the Petite Noe. And in that video, I have mentioned that I would like to kind of share my tips and tricks for shopping pre-loved luxury. So that'll be the topic of the video today. I'm not sure if you guys are really paying attention to the pre-loved luxury market at the moment, but I have personally never seen pre-loved luxury market be this good in the previous few years. There's a lot of inventory that's available right now, and the prices are really great. I started out the year thinking that I'll add some brand new pieces into my collection this year. Just looking at the pre-loved market, I think I will focus on collecting some of the pieces I've always meant to get from the pre-loved market instead this year. So with that said, I wanted to share some of my tips and tricks because I've had a very successful pre-loved purchases from a platform that's not consignment store. So I want to share those tips and tricks with you today so you guys can use these tips and tricks when you shop pre-loved luxury as well. So I hope you guys find this video helpful, and if you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and please consider subscribing to my channel. So let's get right into it. So there are three main tips I want to share with you today. I do have it written down in front of me, so I'll be looking at that. If I keep looking down, that's fine. So first one is know your budget, and your budget has to be realistic. So giving a good example here, let's say you're shopping for Hermes Birkin. Your budget likely will need to be somewhere above $6,000. I think depending on the condition and how old the bag is, you can get it for much cheaper than the current retail price. I think it's closer to $10,000. But you can't have a budget that's like $1,000, right? So you have to have a realistic budget, and how you set a realistic budget for the item you're looking for is actually go through some of the listings that are posted on several different platforms, and I'll share the platforms that I usually shop with for the pre-loved luxury items. And the second tip I have is actually for you to know your boundaries. So I think everyone's boundaries are going to be different. For me, let's say I'm looking for a Louis Vuitton piece. I don't mind some watermarks on the vachetta, and I don't mind some of the wear and tear on the vachetta or any kind of leather trimmings on the bag either, but I don't want the vachetta to be cracked, no cracking in the canvas. So while I'm fine getting a bag that's been pre-loved and has that kind of love from the previous owners, I don't want my bag to be damaged, so that's where I draw the line. But your boundaries might be different, so you might be okay with some more damage for lower price point, or you want your bag to be pristine condition, but for those bags you will have to pay a lot more. And then the third and last tip I have is to not make any haste decisions. So with the pre-loved market pieces, I would say the biggest con is that it's not going to be returnable, and it might be harder for you to get the after sales care for the item that you purchased from the brand that you shop with, depending on which brand you're talking about. And because it's pre-loved market, your inventory is going to change fairly quickly versus a brand new item from the fashion house. So do not make a haste decision. Just know your boundaries of wear and tear on the bag and make sure it's going to meet your budget. If you don't see anything that you're looking for in the pre-loved market, doesn't mean it's not going to be different like tomorrow. So I would say always take your time, and if nothing meets your criteria, don't make a haste decision, because once you buy it, it's yours. It's not like you'll get 30-day return policy for a lot of these bags anyway. So do not make a quick decision. Make sure the bag meets all your criteria. If you're not sure about something, do not pull the trigger, because you will find the bag you're looking for the budget and the condition you want eventually. So with that said, I've wanted to share with you three platforms that I recommend for shopping pre-loved luxury. Two of these platforms that I have used, and then the third platform I actually ended up selling a lot of my items to, including handbags and SLGs. So I will go through each one of them, and the first two I also have platform specific tips and tricks, because they are filled with individual sellers, versus the third platform is a company selling all of their pre-purchased items on their own. So the first platform that I want to recommend is actually my favorite platform, is eBay. eBay is really great because they have a lot of well-established Japanese consignment stores, as well as the individual sellers like myself. I have sold a lot of my handbags and SLGs and several other items in my collection from my house even through eBay before, And what I really like about eBay is that they now have authenticity guarantee program, where if the item, I believe, is within the US, then they will have it first shipped to authenticator first, and once the item is authenticated, then it will get shipped to you. So if you decide to get your item authenticated after the purchase through a third-party authenticator, and then the third-party authenticator deems that your item is not authentic at all, then you can file a claim with eBay and sort it through there. But this is an added guarantee that your item will be authentic. A couple of the tips that I use when I shop for eBay, other than the 3 tips that I already shared, is that I always look at the seller's history and make sure they have long history, either signed up through eBay, or they have previous sales that are similar to the listing you're looking at. So for example, Japanese consignment shops on eBay are great options, but I also don't mind purchasing items from the individual sellers either. So for myself, I've had eBay accounts since I think 2006 or something like that. So while I'm not a professional seller, I have sold several of my items previously through eBay, and I tend to trust the sellers who have long history with eBay, with several transactions both selling and buying through eBay. So that's always a good thing to look at. And of course, because they offer the authenticity guarantee program, I tend to prioritize the items that are listed with authenticity guarantee program, so I have that added guarantee on top of the authentication that I'll do once I get the item as well. And third is to always ask for more pictures if you're not sure. Ask for receipts if they have them and things like that. So do not make a hasty decision. Like I said, if you're not sure about it, if you have some more questions, always reach out to the sellers. A lot of the sellers frequently will answer you pretty quickly with information you're looking for. So in that way, I think eBay is a great platform, whether you go with well-established consignment stores or individual sellers as well. It doesn't mean you're not going to get into kind of a sticky situation, but eBay tends to be on the side of the buyer versus the seller. This has been an experience from a seller perspective as well. They always tend to side with the buyer, so you always have the guarantee as well. That makes you feel better. If you get an item that wasn't as described or have issue with it, eBay will make sure that you can get your money as their buyer guarantee. So while eBay is my top choice for shopping pre-loved luxury, I also do recommend Poshmark, because they also have a similar program like eBay where they do authenticate your item if your item purchase price is over $500. So I recently purchased something through Poshmark, which I will unbox probably sometime next week. Because that was substantially more expensive than $500, it actually got shipped to the Poshmark headquarters, where they have a whole roster of the authenticators. So it was authenticated at the headquarters first, so now it's on its way to me. So they also have that guarantee program just like eBay. The only downside is that the Poshmark seller's fee is a lot higher than eBay from what I remember. So compared to other platforms, the items that are listed only on Poshmark, they're probably going to be higher in price tag versus eBay or similar platforms, because the seller's fee is very, very high. That doesn't mean though you can't get a good score on some of these items, because I ended up finding one of my must-have bags on the platform and that wasn't listed on eBay either. So it's worth investigating. Poshmark is heavily used, I think, just within the US. So it's easier to avoid some of the scammers that say that are outside of the US. So that also helps kind of for you to filter out which sellers you can comfortably shop with. In terms of screening out which sellers might be legitimate versus not, again, I always look at the seller's page. It's really easy for you to click on the seller's account and kind of look at all of their selling history in one glance. So that kind of gives you a guarantee of whether the seller has sold something similar previously, whether the seller has same listing multiple times, which is likely to be a scam. So being able to check the seller's history really easily, I think, gives you kind of that peace of mind when you shop with Poshmark sellers. And of course, a third platform that I recommend, because this is such a well-loved platform already. So again, Fashionphile also has a whole roster of authenticators. So what happens when the sellers submit the items to Fashionphile and they give you the quotes, they actually buy the items right out. but they will ask the sellers to send their items to Fashionphile headquarters, and before the payments are sent, they authenticate all of the items that are sent by the seller, and then they send the sellers a payment. So the reason why I don't like Fashionphile as a seller perspective is that I've always been able to get better price on eBay and Poshmark as a seller, so I'm able to sell my items for a higher price point versus what Fashionphile has offered. But Fashionphile tends to buy items that might not be as popular if you were to sell them on eBay and Poshmark. So I have sold my items to Fashionphile just because I wanted to get them sold as soon as possible, or I thought Fashionphile's price point was very similar to what I would be able to sell the item for on eBay or Poshmark. So I've sold through Fashionphile several times already, but by default, I prefer to sell through eBay and Poshmark. But because Fashionphile is a company that buys the items right out and they have a whole system figured out, they're a whole company that sells luxury goods by themselves, their catalog is very extensive, so it's very likely you'll be able to find what you're looking for if you don't mind paying a little bit of a premium on top of the eBay and Poshmark price point. So that's it for the tips and tricks of how I shop pre-loved luxury and the platforms that I would use to sell and buy pre-loved luxury items as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I think next week on top of the unboxing that I'll be doing, a bag is on its way here and it will get here I think early next week. So I will do unboxing, but I think after that I will kind of do shop with me video that I've been doing but on eBay. So there are several Louis Vuitton items that I'm looking at, or maybe other brands as well, so I want to kind of share my process of what I screen for. I think the whole process can be kind of daunting if you haven't done pre-love shopping before, especially through a platform that's not, you know, guaranteed by a company where it's individual sellers, but it really doesn't have to be that daunting. So I wanted to kind of share that with you maybe in the next week's video. So leave your comments in the comment section down below if that'll be something that's interesting to you. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you in my next one.